Welcome back. And most importantly, got another point on the board from Saturday. Must win this weekend against Oxford United. Let's have a look at it. Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the 35th episode of Run the Valley podcast. My name is Callum Alston. I will be your host as always. I'm back in the studio for those of you watching on video, either live or on a catch-up. And for those of you listening, you'll probably hear a slightly better audio quality. It's good to be back. Beyond the Chronicles a little bit later for those of you interested as well. So I am here, ready to go for a very, very busy Christmas period, heading into some pivotal games over the next couple of weeks. There's a lot to discuss tonight. I want to do a little bit of a reflection on the Birmingham game. I didn't do a full episode just because I wasn't actually at that game. I was flying. I didn't get a chance, obviously, to watch that live as my plane was in the air. But I'm going to be I'll do a little bit of a slight reflection. I was able to get some highlights of match replay best I can, just for 5 or 10 minutes. We'll have a look at the massive game at the Valley this weekend against Oxford United. Have a little bit of a look at Oxford and how they're doing and how they're sort of set up. And then I'll just have a quick chat about a couple of things. There's some inward investment coming into the club. A couple of chats with people who I know who know business far better than I do. We'll see what they sort of made of it. I'm not an expert. I'm sure other people will be. I know that Corley and Co. Will be digging far deeper into that than I can. But we'll have a bit of a chat about what I think is going on from the conversations that I've had. And then we'll have a look at some of the sort of ticketing, sort of not quite fiascos. But I'm not a massive fan of some of the news that's come this week. In terms of ticketing, I think it's quite unfair. And then finally, we'll have a bit of a chat. This will probably be earlier, actually, but we'll have a bit of a chat about Terrence Campbell, some of the stuff that I'm hearing, and then just a little bit of a look at some of the injuries and read between the lines with what Nathan Jones said. Right, we don't have that long to do it. There's a lot to get through. So let's get started. Firstly, hello to everyone in the comments. Hi to Robert. He was in early. Fair play. Thank you so much for hopping in early. Welcome back, Callum. Thank you. Thought we did well to draw at Birmingham. Even if there are players back from injury, I'll still start the same lineup against Oxford that we had at Birmingham. We'll come to that. I don't necessarily disagree with you, Robert. Sam, welcome back, Callum. It's nice to be back, Sam. I look forward to try and come and see you on Saturday before the game. Can't believe our side hasn't improved bar last Saturday away at Birmingham. And then, as you said, Saturday's a massive and definitely a must not lose. It's a must win. It's a must win on Saturday. And we'll come to that. Let's start with that Birmingham game. Couple of things happened. Firstly, to go to St Andrews and get any sort of point, absolutely delighted. I thought I'd be popping on here. In fact, I was convinced I'd be hopping on here on the back of 6 losses in a row. I was really heartened, actually, by some of the defensive actions in that game. I was very heartened by Thomas Kaminski backing up a game against Middlesbrough, which I thought was very good, making another wonderful fingertip save in that first half against Birmingham under the Kosh. You go 2-0 down in that game. And pretty much dead and buried at that point. So a massive save from Thomas as well. But also Nathan Jones's comments at the end of the game, when he basically sounded like a man who's massively relieved. We looked a lot more like us. It's one of the hardest places statistically to go in the division, one of the hardest places to go in the country and get anything. So I'm happy to take the point. A little bit annoyed how the goal happened off a set piece. 2 hands down on Paul Gillespie's shoulder. He can't get up in the air. Their player knocks it in. Fair play. It's a lovely header. Maybe there's a bit of fortune, as Nathan was saying. I think he's just sort of looped it. But beyond that, second half. So first half, we're really massively under the Kosh. But we're under the Kosh, but Birmingham weren't creating tons and tons. Demarai Gray doing what Demarai Gray does at this sort of level. Absolutely skinning people. Hit the post. Kaminski a bystander from that opportunity. And then the second half, after we'd equalised, Demarai Gray cut inside. Hits one that goes off the bar. I might be being a little bit whatever, but I think the goalkeeper may have it if that's any lower. I actually think that the angle the shot takes, it actually takes it towards the goalkeeper's hand. If that dips under, that's just how I think maybe someone coming in and say it should have been a wonder goal. But to be honest with you, I don't care. It didn't go in. And then the really big, massive news from that, two things. Firstly, the Miles Lee-Burn miss, one of the worst misses you'll ever see. I like Miles. I'm not going to defend that. It's a dreadful miss. It happens with strikers. I'm going to move on. Other people have done the sort of League Two striker nonsense, which I just don't think is worth much time for me to go over in this podcast. That's not what we do here. For anyone that's new, those of you listening since the start of the season, I try to be as positive as I can. So there's a missed chance from a striker. Okay, it happened. However, probably the most important thing was Tyrese Campbell gets himself off the mark, come off the bench. Within 2 minutes, he puts the ball in the back of the net. It's a nice finish. He waits for the defender actually to go down, gets it under control. It's both a nice bit of skill from Tanto Alafe and kind of actually a massive screw up from Tanto Alafe. I don't think it means that. He sort of slips slightly as well. Defender gets completely bamboozled. It's dreadful defending. The first head is awful, where he tries to clear it out from the defensive action. Tanto picks the ball up. I think he's trying to go outside him. It ends up going through the defender's legs. It works. It's fine. Fair enough. It's actually a decent ball across. Keeper really should gather it, I think. Makes an absolute mess of it, as Birmingham keepers have done all season. Ball bounces up in the air. Tyrese Campbell brings it down. Nice touch. Waits for the defender to go down. Just smacks it into the back of the net. Point, sorted. We've sort of hung on from there. It was a glancing header at the end of the game. Maybe the guy should have done better. We had a couple of chances other than the lead bench chance where Tanto missed a couple of chances. We'll get to the strikers and the lineups in a second for what I would do against Oxford. Sam saying I also thought Costello was brilliant too. Monday night we signed the lad. Yeah, he had a great run. However, in the great sort of Charlton Law, the ball that he played when he finished the run was absolutely dreadful. That's probably why we haven't seen him. I'd like to see more of Rankin Costello. I think Coventry's looked a bit tired in the last couple of games, actually. I think it might be worth at some point giving him a little bit of a run. I think it's hard for a player just to kind of come in and play. And I've been really heartened as well by Nathan Jones saying that Joe's been an absolute consummate professional behind the scenes, despite the fact he hasn't played very many minutes. So hopefully he will come good. He's got a 4-year contract. So, we've invested in him. It may just take a little bit of time. It's just frustrating because it's probably the one player we brought in. He thought probably wouldn't need that bedding in time because he has over 100 championship appearances. But, these things can happen, new environments, all the rest of it. So, but look, overall, good performance, considering how it was. Yeah, Robert Fuller, that was the other things I mentioned. There's two players we have to mention, which is Fuller at left back. He is a 10 playing at left wing back. He's 18 years old. To go to St Andrews and come out relatively unscathed, they did try to target him, and he did reasonably well to deal with that. He looked better playing at left wing back than he did playing his normal position. Right at Wrexham, he looked a little bit less overawed. That's going to happen. Experience, time. We sort of had to rush him back, but it's good to see. It's good, it's good to see the lad, really sort of stepping up to that challenge. It's still, I think, ultimately like to get him some sort of loan at some point. I think 18 years old playing in the Championship is a bit difficult, but he's a very exciting young talent. I think the other one is Corey Anderson in midfield. I thought he was excellent, got man of the match. Gave away the free kick for the goal, but the young player. But I thought he brought some athleticism, some real bite to that midfield, and that's, I think, what we were missing quite a lot of, other than the left wing back. In those games against the better sides, I think they were just far more athletic than us. I think the Middlesbrough game probably gave Nathan Jones a real sort of looking at a player, looking at sort of not having that athleticism in midfield. Conor Coventry has many great things on the ball. Greg Doherty does a number of things that I actually quite like in terms of moving around the pitch, but he's not athletic, and I think you missed that athleticism. Once you had Croy, you were able to get that. Charlie's saying, what do you make of the news the owners are looking for inward investment from the outside group? We will come to that. I had a chat with a couple of people in my life who know business a lot more than I do, so hopefully I can give some sort of something. But I think Rich is looking into that, so if you subscribe to Rich's Substack, that's probably the place you're going to get a little bit more concrete information. And then you can also watch different financial websites if you're that into that. Yeah, so fully deserved man of the match from Sam saying about Anderson. I thought Anderson was fantastic. He should be starting this weekend. So that's I thought it was a positive performance against Birmingham. Again, the left side still teams are going to target. I think that we're going to get a bit of a reprieve. Even Birmingham, the level of their attackers on that side comparative to the teams that we've played in Coventry and Stoke and all the rest of it. It's night and day, right? Patrick Roberts is a really good footballer. He's not the Chimandu at Stoke in terms at this point in his career. And I think that teams, he's not Morgan Whittaker at this point in his career, right? He was a great player, Patrick Roberts. But I think that you're starting to sort of see, that you're going to play sides now that can't target that weakness in the same way that you did in those 5 games. It has just happened, quite frankly. We had an injury crisis. We don't have a left back, and you're playing teams that have exceptional wingers, and basically they've killed us. The Southampton game was a mess. That didn't help the confidence. That doesn't help playing 2 attacking wing backs who both are wingers. They absolutely killed us down the sides, right? You look at those 5 losses. Other really than Wrexham, and again, Wrexham don't have that sort of level. Kabore, again, great player, but he's not the level of the players that Coventry had, that Stoke had at the time. I know Stoke are a bit on the slide, but the talent is there. So I think that you are going to start to see over these next couple of games, maybe Norwich aside. I think Norwich maybe are in a slightly false position, but they've got injuries everywhere as well. You're going to start to see you're playing teams other than that game again against Coventry on New Year's Day at home. You're playing teams that don't quite have that same attacking sort of verve down those sides. So that should help. I think we've got Sheffield United in there as well at home. They don't have that either. So I do think that the schedule really softens. I think Derby at home's in January, right? Millwall's going to be difficult because it's Millwall, the whole separate conversation. Leicester's hard because of Fatuwu, but Leicester haven't been, blowing everyone out of the water or anything. So I do think that we're entering a period now where it's all about the points, all about the results now. It doesn't matter about the performances. Play terribly, win 1-0, I don't care. Comes off someone's backside, who cares? Right? This is not performance time now in the holiday season. This is as many points as you can put on the board, right? You beat Oxford on Saturday, you're going to go 8 points clear of that bottom 3, almost certainly. If you look at the fixtures, both Blackburn and Portsmouth have, even if that was to change, but you go 8 points clear of Oxford, who are going to be third bottom if you win, right? Beat Portsmouth at Fratton Park, which we love to do, and I know it's going to be difficult. It's a difficult game, right? But if you can do that, if you can keep that streak going, go to Fratton Park and win, right? All of a sudden you're looking 11, 12 points. That gap's massive again, right? And players are coming back and it's all changing. I think that's what Nathan Jones is saying, but we will get there. Players are coming. It's pretty obvious this weekend, hopefully, that we're going to have Charlie Callum back. It sounds like Reece Burke could be back as well. We'll get to Reece Burke in a minute, because if there's one change that I think you might make, that might be the one. No, Nathan Jones. But if you look at it now's the time to start picking up the points, right? We gave ourselves the cushion. We got the 23, right? Where even though we lost these games, we're still comfortably, we're still 5 points and 6 goals out of the teams in the bottom 3. We play them. If we beat them, as long as we don't lose to them, we should be in a position where we can end up, hopefully, at the end of January, being, again, relatively comfortably towards that sort of 14 to 19 spot that I said that I think we probably would finish in. But these 3 games now could be season defining. Before the window, if you can prove that, hey, we can get to 10, 11 points, and we'll get to the investment in a minute, right? That will allow you to then go to the owners and go, look, give me a couple of million quid, right? We'll stay up, and then we can build next summer. And that inward investment comes in, and all of a sudden it becomes a very different sort of kettle of fish, I think. That's just my thoughts on where we are currently. Let's chat Oxford. Obviously, we're playing against our former centre-back, Gary Rowett, someone who managed Millwall as well. Bit of a funky one. Not sure whether we really love him or really don't love him. I think it's more love from his time as a sort of battling centre-back for us. This is the one game where I think your press, this is the only team you're going to play all season, where your press integrity actually really doesn't matter. Right? It does matter. It always matters. But the one thing that a Canto, Lebo, and front 2 can't do, there are many things they can't do at this level, but the one thing they really can't do is maintain and sustain a press, right? It's neither of their games. Canto's a willing runner. Miles is too big to run that much, right? He's not athletic enough to do it. Canto runs at times when he shouldn't run. But this is the one side who they sit so deep, they sit so far back, and they do not hit you in the half space, and they don't have a ton of speed anywhere. Right? Is it De Ketteler? They've got one really, really exciting forward player. But this is an Oxford team that are pretty blunt up front. They don't create a hell of a lot. They've got an excellent back five, basically. They've got a really good goalkeeper. And the Rowett sort of mode of operandi is hold you to a 0-0 and try and knock you in a moment. If that piece, something goes across the box, they tap it in, right? They're not a team that are going to play the ball around you particularly. Watch Brannigan in the middle, fantastic player, loves a goal against us, but they're not this sort of side that you should fear pressing because they're not going to hit the guy in behind you, right? So there's two schools of thought here. There's my thought would be, okay, you sort of sit maybe a bit further back so you can use Tanto and Lieben. In that sense, you get Lieben's height, which you'll need dealing with players like Quan Brown, is a good centre back, right? It's a big, strong, tall centre back. A little bit like that Millwall game, right? Where they don't exactly hit you high, right? They've got big, strong, tall lads at the back, and that's probably where you need that height. Now, you also need creativity, and this is something that we don't have a ton of. We've got lots of midfielders, but none of them are a pass-forward cam, right? So that makes, for example, playing balls in behind those big centre-backs difficult. So you need the height. But you also need the creativity. So you need someone who can beat someone one-on-one. We only have two of those players, really. One is TC, one is Tanto. Tanto has an assist on the weekend. There's no argument you play him. TC has a goal on the weekend. There's no argument you play him. I actually don't think it really matters in this particular game. Either you press high, at which point you want TC because you're going to go and press them because they're not very good on the ball comparatively, or you sit deeper, right? And you go, actually, I want Tanto in there, I want Lieben in there, I want a bit of height, and I want a bit of creativity on that side, right? If you're going to do the height and creativity at that point, you may consider playing a Rob Apter in that sort of role. And I don't mention Rob Apter as a starter in this podcast very often. I'm not in the same school as a lot of people. I think other podcasts talk about him differently to me. But I don't think this is a game where you're going to get overrun necessarily. However, I think Nathan Jones isn't going to go that gung-ho. Because I think Nathan Jones will think of this as, if we can't win it, don't lose it. Do not lose this game. Whatever you do, don't lose. And Oxford have a bit of a thing on us. We don't beat Oxford very often. We haven't played them that much. But in the League One years, we didn't beat them very often. So my thing with it is you've got to make a choice. You're either going to go fully for it and you're going to press high, at which point you're probably going to want to play Tyrese Campbell, or you're going to want to sit back a little bit, probably more like you did at Birmingham, right? And you're going to want to play Tanto. And that's where that decision will be made. I think the team will be exactly the same as the one against Birmingham. I think he will keep Tyrese Campbell on the bench for a bit of pace once their centre-backs are tired. However, there's one change he may make, and that would be Reece Burke. If Reece Burke is fit, I think Nathan Jones will play Reece Burke because he trusts him in a way that he doesn't trust many other players. If Amari Bell or Reece Burke are fit, they play, right? If they can play, they play. And before Burke got himself injured, right, which is going to happen because he's Reece Burke and this is what happens, he'd earn that starting spot off of Kane Ramsey, right? One, because he's an excellent centre-back at the level when fit, but two, because Nathan Jones trusts him in a way that he doesn't trust many other footballers, right? So that's the only change. If Reece Burke is fit, I could see Nathan Jones doing that. A foot injury is not the same as a muscle injury. You don't need to work your way back. You can kind of just go out there and play. You can't really harm something that's fully healed. So that would be the only one that I would look at. I'd look at Charlie Kelman if he's fit. It sounded like from what Nathan Jones was saying that that's possible. That you may have Kelman on the bench and then you can bring TC and Kelman on if it's not working with Tanto and Lieben. And then you can do that sort of high press thing in the second half as teams sort of tire. So that's what I think of Oxford. Again, watch Brannigan. Do not let Brannigan sort of dictate play. You may want to do what you did with Cantwell, Blackburn, and stick Connor Coventry on him and just basically as human glue. But this is also a game where you could play that double cam, right? So you could actually play a Luke Berry in there along with a Sonny Carey. You could play a Harvey Nibbs in there because Oxford don't come out at you, right? So you can play it a bit more. You can take some more risks here because they don't have necessarily the players with which to hurt you. You can think, right? Left wing back still a problem, and Brannigan is a really big player. De Ketelaere is another really, really good player, right? All players at this level. Quan Brown's a very good centre back. Cummings is an excellent goalkeeper, right? So they do have some really, really special players. I'm not entirely sure why Tyler Goodrum's not playing. He was excellent in League One, has good numbers, and maybe fallen out of Rowett. I don't know. But this is the sort of game where you're going to have to try and sort of control it, because Rowett's teams will make things ugly. They'll make it difficult. They'll frustrate you. And we don't create a hell of a lot anyway. My only worry with the Tanto Leaburn front two is Leaburn had that horrible miss on Saturday and the confidence isn't quite there. And Tanto can't hit a barn door at the moment, right? They do many things well. Leaburn's aerial dual win rate is 55.8% this year, right? People say he doesn't win a header. He does, right? He's in the top 5 in the division for aerial duels 1 for a player that's not a centre back, right? Like, stop it. But, Tanto doesn't score at the moment. He can't score. And it's a real problem. He said in the post-match interview, a lot of the chances I've been through on this podcast, he went through and said, I should have scored. That's points you're leaving on the board. And that's my worry. I still think that when they're fit, Kelman and TC will play together, and that will be his front two. Allows you to defend from the front, do that press. But this is the one game I look at, probably the away game as well, if Rowett's still the manager. This is the game where you probably can get away with that front two not needing to be quite as press intensive or press organised. So I hope that sort of makes sense. That's my thoughts on where we're going. I'll come to the comments and kind of see what you guys are saying here as well. Sam saying you got unchanged for Sunday. I don't know if anything that I've just said changes your mind, Sam. Be interested to find out too. I think we beat Oxford 2-0. They go down this season. I think they're going to go down as well. It's just a question of whether we're going to go with them or not. I still think Pompey, Oxford, Blackburn. I still think they're in worse spots than us, and I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to be spending some money in January. If Bell is fit too, he's not. I think it's pretty obvious that Bell is going to be later on next week. I think Nathan was saying he's a little bit behind. A couple of days, I think was the word he used. So you might look at Boxing Day. You might look at that Pompey game on the Monday. For Bell, Sam saying, I think Costello be given an opportunity in midfield too. I would. I don't know if maybe. I don't know if this is the game. I don't know if he's going to change it too much. I would be intrigued to see a Costello Coventry midfield too, actually, at some point. My only question is Doc been dropped to the bench. He's done better when he's brought on. Yeah, I mean, it may be tactical. I mean, I think Croy, just in terms of athleticism, you need that at the moment because you just don't have enough of it. It's not Carey's game. It's not Coventry's game. So you need someone that can do it. And at this level, it requires a level of it that I don't think Doc has at the moment. I actually think he's been okay when he's come on. I agree with you on that one, Sam. Okay, let's talk inward investment. Obviously, I'm sure you guys saw. Is it Matt Lawler? Isn't it? Is it Matt Lawler, the journalist from the Athletic? He's a fantastic journalist. So I wouldn't check whether this is true. This will be true. This is a fantastic football journalist. Someone who knows a lot about the EFL. A senior reporter at the Athletic. So we can sort of say, Mark, this is true. Which is that S7 partners are going to basically float 20% of the club. Valued at £20 million. So what's going on here? And this is from talking to a few people in my circle who work in business, a couple of friends that work in finance, and a couple of family members that work in finance as well. This is just kind of what I've heard. So the first thing to look on that is that they bought the football club in total. I think it was 10.4 million they paid, maybe slightly higher. There's about £10 million, say, just for now. They bought 100% of the stake, 100% stake for 10 million quid, basically. If 20% of the club is valued at 20 million, that means they value the entire football club at 100 million without a stadium, right? If the stadium is worth, say, with the market value of the ground, I think something like 27 million, they're valuing the football club at 127 million with everything all put together. For a football club they bought for 10 million 2 years ago, right? These are investors. So the first part of this will be them wanting to make their initial investments back, right? Because they've given the club money, they bought the club, then they so they paid Sangard, and then they've invested in facilities and in players and in the manager and all the rest of it. And they can make their return. It's very normal. So this will be part of it. So when someone comes in and buys it for 20 million, that's a return that goes to your Brenners, your Friedmans, your whoever on earth the other guys are, Brad, that aren't of huge significance. But there's another piece to it as well, which is what you're bringing on board is that anyone that's going to pay £20 million for 20% of a loss-making championship club is going to have a huge amount of liquid assets around them. Now, people think that's a really good thing because it's someone that basically I'm saying they're going to have a lot of money. right? And that is true, right? But private equity funds have a lot of money. High risk US pension funds have a lot of money, right? Whoever this person is not going to be expecting to make their money back, straight away. You're basically looking at it and going, when you make the Premier League and you're worth 400 million or whatever it is, then we're going to be, you're a Premier League club in London, at the big massive stadium, and you're going to be worth twice what you are now. Then I'll get my return on that 20 million pound investment, right? But the thing is that doesn't mean they have one spend their money on Charlton and footballers and that sort of thing, and maybe they look at it and they read the business plan. And they go, actually, guys have a plan to get up. Yeah, that's fine. I'll dump a couple million in every once in a while. But what they will be is somebody with a heck of a lot of cash, right, or liquid assets, as you can refer to in business, right? Things they can sell quickly to make money. But if you're spending that sort of money just as a side investment, you've got a lot of cash. And the question really, and this is what we don't know, is who is going to spend that money. And there are issues with private equity in football. I'm thinking of doing some sort of summer series on some more in-depth sort of football topics. Maybe we'll get into private equity and football, and you can see what private equity has done in a number of industries. For example, the restaurant industry. It's not all positive, sort of everything's going to be hunky-dory. But to me, what it signals is very much, if you see Wrexham have done it, Ipswich have done it, right? Both owned by American billionaires as well. It's a starting gun on extreme amounts of spending in the EFL. And I think that's whether we're part of that in terms of we're going to go out and spend 25 million quid on a player. I don't know. But what it is it means that there's going to be a hell of a lot of money pumping through the EFL, and there are going to be clubs that are going to basically fall way behind this. This is going to be the people that we're talking about owning clubs aren't going to be billionaires. These are going to be funds that are worth a hell of a lot more than a single person is, right? And that's the question. Where's that money coming from? What are the terms of having that money? And if you know anything about billionaires, they're really good at spending other people's monies. That's why they're billionaires, right? So you bring the investment in, and all of a sudden you can spend it, right? But you're not, if you're Friedman, you're not putting your, you can put your own stuff up as sort of collateral in case things fall apart, whatever it is. But to them, they're going £20 million to Joshua Friedman's not a hell of a lot of money comparative to his net worth, right? It's a little bit more to Brenner, but it's still, I was joking, it's a bit like hundreds to you or I, right? But what it means is that they can get that sort of that liquid investment cash, and they're able to spend that money, right? Or they're able to upgrade facilities, they're able to buy the value, whatever it is. The only string that's going to be attached to unearth that other person or other fund or other whatever it is on the other end. So there are worries. Is it predatory capitalism? We don't know, right? And until someone buys it, we don't know. They've run the club extremely well since taking it over. If you can multiply the value of something by 10 times, you've done something right. But when they say they want to own the valley and all the rest of it, this I think is a real signifier of that, and I think it's a real signifier of we fully intend to be part of this arms race that's going to happen over the next couple of years. And I think you're going to see every American basically backed football club is going to start to do this sort of thing. As football enters, I think, a pretty crazy period of spending. You've got American billionaires buying non-league clubs, for goodness sakes, right? And that's where we are in football. I think the money's just going to go up and up and up and up and up, even as the economy struggles along at times. Is it exciting? Maybe. Is it something to worry about? I wouldn't think so, but potentially. And I'm sure there are people that have got a lot more business experience. You probably can explain it slightly better than I can. But I hope that just kind of gives you a bit of a flavour of what I've sort of heard. I've had conversations with the people around me. I don't know from the club, what that is. I know Corley's going to look into that. So very much, have a look out on his Substack, have a look out on X and all the rest of it to see what's happening. But if Ipswich are doing it, Wrexham are doing it, I don't think it's a negative thing. I think those are two of the best run clubs in the EFL at the moment. But it is a real, I think, sort of slight is almost the wrong word. It's a real statement of intent to be part of whatever this next thing in football is. I think it's pretty blatantly obvious these guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And the real money bonanza for them as investors, if they make it to the Premier League, to the quiz. So, if there's a plan to get there, I thought Nathan Jones sort of let slip. There's something going on when he said sort of in 2 or 3 seasons we'll have 4 or 5 of those types of players when he's referencing Tyrese Campbell's ability to beat players. People can question that particular bit, but there's that first bit's really interesting. He's saying by that point we're going to have the funds to really go out and build something very, very different here. So I think that part of that 5-year contract will be them promising him increasing sort of returns, right, in terms of his transfer budget. So I think this is kind of that sort of step. With so many of the championship clubs doing this, there's not a stop. Our currents are going in this direction, and not a shock. Our owners are going this direction. Decision making. No, it's not a shock. These are business people. They made a hell of a lot of money in business, more money than probably you or I could really conceive. So if they will be running it as a business, and I've got no problem with that. All of the successful football clubs are businesses. But it's just how you get there and what you need to do. And then Chelsea has an interesting development for sure. It is. None of us know exactly all the details yet, but I think probably over the next 6 months. I look at that Jason Newell transfer fee, and I have a feeling they're going to break that multiple times next summer. It sounds very much like there's going to be a scalpel to this squad, and they're going to make some pretty significant changes. As long as we stay up, and I think they're going to try and spend some money in January and make sure that we don't go down. Yeah, you only get real money back against the Premier League by one money gun higher price, spending silly money. But Brendan Freeman is actually sensible. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to go gung ho, and they're going to be stupid. I think the amount they spent in the summer, I think, was reasonable. I think it was the 10th highest net spend. It should be enough to hopefully get us into that lower mid-table spot. But they these aren't idiots, and they're not going to spend loads of their own money on something that's not going anywhere. But they're not like a Chancery either, where they're just going to pump loads of money in and then sort of give up on it. I think that there is a plan here, and I think if you kind of listen to Ed Warwick and Jim Rodwell, and all the rest of it or have a chat to Paul Elliott, if you see me on the trains all the time and going from games, you'll feel a bit sort of more reassured. If you listen to what they're saying, Gavin Carter as well. I mean, Carter's not going to sign himself up to a project at Charlton that's not benefit to the club. He's obviously a lifelong fan. So look, there's a lot to all the people that have been there through the successful years have said, look, these guys are real. They're the real deal. They intend to do the right thing. Right, let's have a chat about just a couple of small things. One thing I've been seeing going around is the idea that we should be recalling Daniel Kanu and Micah and Bick. We absolutely should not be doing that. Leave them. Let them develop. Right, I get it. Kanu's on fire. It's interesting, but Nathan Lowe was on fire at Stockport in the league above, and Stoke called him back, and it didn't work out, and it's harmed his development. Right, leave the kid. Right, let him develop. Let them do their thing. Right. I've said on this podcast many times, I think Mike Rimbick's going to be the next really big, massive sell from this football club, right? But I think that's going to take some time, and I think giving him a couple of seasons to really develop, giving Daniel Kanu a couple of seasons to really develop, will benefit us more than trying to rush them back in January because our strikers maybe aren't scoring as much as we'd like them to. So that's my perspective on that, and then just the last bit. Before we go, well, actually, there's two things, and there's TC, which has been going around. I sort of answered it earlier. My thing with TC, and I've defended the lad. I think some of the criticism is completely over the top, if I'm honest with you. I think they're blaming him for the second goal against Middlesbrough, for goodness sakes. Right? I thought that was an utterly ridiculous sort of point to make personally, but hey, football is subjective and everyone's got an opinion. I think sometimes it's easy to scapegoat, and I've said this before. I think our fan base loves a good scapegoat, and I don't think it's healthy. People talking about how he reacted at Birmingham. He's really shy. Stephen Avery's talked about him being incredibly shy. His answers in interviews are 3 or 4 words long. Louis often jokes about it, right? Like, of course, he doesn't want to be thrown in front of an away end and asked to sort of do the way thing, right? It's just not. That's not him as a person. So I think that we need to be a little bit, we need to sort of be a little bit calmer, I think, sometimes with the criticism. It's not TC. If you don't like the fact that TC's playing, it's not TC's fault that he's playing. Nathan Jones is picking him. And he's picking him because of his defensive output, not his attacking output. And even Nathan Jones said in sort of a really impassioned defense of him, he said, look, his outputs aren't quite what we want. He's like, we'll get there. right? Do I trust Nathan Jones to be right? I mean, I don't have a reason not to trust him to be right, so I'm going to go with that. But I think, if people are getting really het up about Tyrese Campbell playing games of football, you're going to really have a problem for the next couple of months, because I think that it's very clear Nathan Jones is going to be starting him. I don't think a player's been affected as much by Godden not being fit as TC either, because someone's got to. You need someone next to him who's a finisher, basically, and he just hasn't had that without Godden. I think it's pretty obvious there's Lubbock there next summer. Probably a midfielder, definitely a centre back. Yeah, God, get me a centre back. Probably a full-time left wing back if it is going to be Scars from West Ham we end up signing on loan. And then they're probably going to have to be looking at forwards and those sort of really costly areas up front. Charlie's saying, I'm with you, Cal. Leaving Bick and Carney where they are nowhere near championship level. And they're not. They're 18 and 21. 18 and 20, right? Like, don't worry about them. They've got long-term contracts. Let them go. And Bick missed a penalty in the trophy game, and I was like, good, right? Not because I don't want Colchester to do well or whatever it is, but you're learning, right? You're learning how to react to a crowd doing that, right? These things take time. Just leave them out there. Let them almost learn to live in a house share and do all the stuff. Almost become adults out there, right? Didn't harm Harry Kane being loaned out for 4 seasons, right? Leave the kids. Let them be. If someone said loan out Miles at some point, if he was on a longer contract, I would, right? I think about it if you had a replacement, right? I wouldn't recommend doing it. I think he learns more by being at the first team setup, and I think Nathan really likes him. But development's really, really important for players, and I think we need to let players develop. Final piece before I go, because we're hitting the 40-minute mark. I will be on the Chronicles in about half an hour, so come and say hello. But last bit, it's just on ticketing, because I think this has been an absolute disaster. It's been incredibly frustrating. I got stuck in a queue today in the middle of the workday for 15-20 minutes trying to get in to buy a Chelsea ticket. In what world can I not just click a link and just reserve my season tickets? I wanted to move seats anyway. It's a bit different for me, but they weren't setting up the Valley. My mate Larry, how you doing? Hope you're doing all right. he went down to the Valley to try and buy tickets, and then I went on. I bought it. I ended up buying his season ticket because they didn't actually look off the season tickets. I don't get that. I really don't understand that system. They need to have a look at it, especially, if we're going to progress, those away ends are going to sell out more quickly. More people are going to end up in the top level of points, and it's going to end up being a bit of a race to try and get the right tickets. And, but it needs to be a better system than that one. And the other one, and I know why this is, right? This will be because the home clubs have sent them the tickets before Christmas because they don't want to process it. The thing of having to process it around Christmas time, whatever it is, because the ticket offices are shut as they should be. It's Christmas time, right? But because Charlton get it, and Charlton's thing is we put them on sale as soon as they come. They're now trying to get us to buy 4 tickets for January, one of which isn't until almost the end of January, 1 week before Christmas, right? And it's going to cost about 200 quid almost to buy adult tickets for all 4 of the games that they've now put on sale, right? Why? Like, just hold on to the Leicester ticket. No one cares if we're buying the Leicester tickets in 2 weeks' time, right? Like, I really don't understand why they've done it that way. And I'll be, critical of the club apparatus when I need to be on here. I tried to be fair. I tried to be fair, but I don't understand. I don't understand the thought process that goes behind that. It's Christmas time. The economy is struggling a little bit, quite a lot actually at the moment. Like, people are struggling. It's cost of living crisis. We're doing a food bank donation day on Saturday, which by the way, everyone should try and donate to. It's a wonderful cause. They shouldn't have to exist, but it does, right? Like, but we shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a world where they're trying to get you to buy 4 tickets at £30 each. Fair play to Leicester, 25 quid, but everyone else is 28, 36 from Millwall, of course. And then it's basically 30 for the cheapest ticket for Charlton Chelsea, right? Like, it's a lot of money. Like, come on, right? It's do it before Christmas. I really don't understand why they're doing that. It's just something that's bothered me today. So anyway, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. It's great to be back in my room with my my shirts and my Darren Bent sign thing behind me. But yeah, I'm back. I will be at all the games. Come say hello if you see me. And I'll be on the Chronicles in about half an hour, and then we'll be back on Sunday, obviously, to review what hopefully will be a big win against Oxford United. Difficult game this weekend. Really, really, when Nathan Jones is board coach, this team is coached well, right, defensively at least. No stupid moments. Hope to get a couple of goals. Beat Oxford, and then we can look ahead to a difficult 2-way trips on Boxing Day, and then to every Charlton fan's favourite ground, Fratton Park, on the 29th. All right, everybody. Oh, God, Sam said I think I have 2 hours to buy a ticket. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, that's enough moaning. I'll see you all. Nice to be back. I'll see you all either on the Chronicles or I'll see you Sunday for the match review. All right, bye for now.